had just woken up when Levi Pei handed me the pen. Before me was that familiar prenuptial agreement, the one I signed in my past life, which cost me everything. I had been reborn to the moment just before signing the prenuptial agreement. The memories came flooding back. Levi Pei transferred assets after marriage. When my design brand was about to launch, he teamed up with Ruby Shoe, stole the core drafts, and accused me of plagiarism. I was ruined, left in debt, and died from illness. My head ached slightly, accompanied by the lingering hatred from my previous life's death. Levi Pei saw me spacing out and urged me, "Ria, sign it. After signing, we'll go get our marriage certificate." He smiled gently, just like when he coaxed me to sign in our past life. Protection, it's control. Control over my money, my designs, everything about me. I put down the pen, clutching my stomach, my face already pale from the headache. "Levi, I suddenly have terrible stomach pain. Like acute gastroenteritis. We'll sign the agreement another day. I need to go to the hospital right now." Before he could react, I grabbed my bag and rushed out unsteadily, leaving him standing there in shock. I didn't go to the hospital but took a taxi to the pottery studio in the suburbs. Dao Xinlan was working on the pottery wheel when she noticed my dazed expression and stopped. "Ria, why do you look so pale? Weren't you supposed to sign the prenuptial agreement today?" I sat down on the low stool beside her, watching the spinning clay. "Teacher Dao, I had a nightmare. I dreamed of signing something I shouldn't have, ruining my entire life." Dao Xinlan poured me a glass of warm water. "The dream may be false, but the unease in my heart is real. Marriage is a big deal, and finances are even more important. If you're uncomfortable, don't force yourself." I took a sip of water and nodded. "You're right, I'll leave in a bit. I'm really fortunate to have another chance to start over. Signing that agreement again is absolutely out of the question. Marrying Levi Pei, that's never happening in this lifetime. I'll make sure to settle every single score from the pain of my past life. Levi Pei is a lawyer, and I'm a designer. In my previous life, I was in love with him for 5 years. Just before we were about to get married, he said that in order to better manage our future home, he wanted me to sign a prenuptial agreement. I don't know what kind of spell I was under back then to have obeyed him so blindly. Looking back now, I can't believe I actually agreed to such a ridiculous agreement. The agreement was very simple. All income and creative outputs from my studio during the marriage, including my design drafts and brand earnings, would be considered joint property, managed and controlled by him. He said he was a lawyer, so this way he could better protect my hard work. I believed it and signed. I thought marriage meant becoming one entity. How laughable. After signing that agreement in our previous life, we went to get our marriage certificate. After getting the certificate, we ran into Ruby Shoe in front of his law firm, a woman he fell in love with at first sight. At that time, I only thought of Ruby Shoe as just another ordinary client of their law firm. A few days later, I saw Ruby Shoe again. Levi Pei took me to an art dinner, saying he wanted me to meet people in the circle. Ruby Shoe also attended. She's a gallery manager and spoke eloquently about art. Levi Pei couldn't take his eyes off her. At the time, I just thought she was impressive and didn't think much of it. After marriage, Levi Pei grew increasingly distant, always claiming to be busy. I was busy with my own studio and didn't look into it deeply. He started taking an interest in my career, stepping in as both a husband and a lawyer to manage the finances and oversee the design drafts. After years of hard work, my studio finally created a hit series, preparing to enter international competitions, secure funding, and go public. At this critical moment, the core part of the design drafts was leaked and appeared in the work of an emerging designer at Ruby Shoe Gallery. Ruby Shoe publicly accused me of plagiarism. Levi Pei expressed deep sorrow and presented fabricated evidence, emails, and chat records. With public opinion entirely on their side, I lost the lawsuit. My studio was gone. My reputation was ruined, and I was left with a huge debt. To make matters worse, the prenuptial agreement was still in place. Levi Pei had long since transferred all marital assets cleanly, doing it in a very legal manner. Instead, I became the one in debt, chased by him for money, left with nothing, and burdened with a mountain of debt. My health collapsed. When I was on the verge of death from illness, Levi Pei showed up. He's not here to repent. He came to boast about how he and Ruby Shu stepped on my bones to establish themselves in the art world. He said if he had signed the prenuptial agreement just 2 hours later, if he had married me just 2 hours later, he would never have married me, making Ruby Shu suffer for so long. The two of them took everything from me, yet he still believes my existence hindered him from giving Ruby Shu the status she deserved. How laughable it is. And how foolish of me to have imagined human nature as too kind. In my past life, when I closed my eyes and breathed my last, that bone-deep hatred and heart-wrenching pain surged back vividly the moment I was reborn. In this life, I shall grant him his love at first sight. I stayed at Dao Xinlan's place for an hour before getting up to leave. I took a taxi to his law firm, and at the corner outside the building, I noticed, in this life, Ruby Shu appeared an hour earlier than in the previous one. I saw Levi Pei supporting a woman who had accidentally twisted her ankle and stumbled into his arms. She dressed with extra care today, looking at Levi Pei with just the right mix of fluster and admiration. Levi Pei forgot to let go of her hand, his gaze fixed on her, utterly dazzled. Neither of them bothered to lower their voices as they spoke. Ruby Shu asked with a smile, "With your handsome looks, youthful charm, and remarkable success, Attorney Pei must have quite a few admirers by your side." "Right." Levi Pei smiled very gently. "No, I'm usually quite busy, so I rarely even see my fiancé. It really is rare for us to meet. In the past, we were both busy with our own careers during our upward climb, and we had long passed the honeymoon phase. I thought a gentle, steady relationship would be the most enduring." I walked over, pretending I had just arrived. "Levi, I'm fine now. The doctor said it was just a cramp. And who is this?" The tone was calm. Levi Pei suddenly snapped back to reality and hurriedly let go. "Rear, oh, this is Miss Ruby Shu, who just returned from abroad. Miss Shu, this is my fiancé, Rear Jiang." Ruby Shu looked at me with a polite smile on her face, but I caught a fleeting trace of jealousy and resentment in her eyes. I'm really curious. Where does her hatred for me come from? I remember very clearly, at this moment in my previous life was when she first met Levi Pei. She quickly concealed it. "Miss Jiang, hello, I'm really sorry, I just lost my balance. Luckily Mr. Pei caught me. Is your foot okay?" I asked. "Levi, let's discuss the agreement another day. Should we take Miss Shu to the hospital first?" I looked at Levi Pei, testing the waters. A flicker of hesitation crossed Levi Pei's face as he glanced at Ruby Shu, then back at me. Ruby Shu seized the moment to furrow her brows slightly and let out a soft gasp. "Ouch, it does hurt a bit. Sorry to trouble you, Mr. Pei." Levi Pei immediately nodded, looking at me apologetically. "Rear, you see, Miss Shu is in an inconvenient situation alone. We'll sign the agreement tomorrow. I'll come find you after I drop Miss Shu off." "Alright, go ahead and take Miss Shu. The agreement isn't urgent." I nodded decisively and turned to leave. From behind came Levi Pei's relieved voice and Ruby Shu's soft words of thanks. In the previous life, there was no scene where Ruby Shu twisted her ankle, and Levi Pei only exchanged a few brief words with her before they headed to the meeting room. Has the plot changed slightly since the rebirth? Back at the apartment, I locked the door behind me. Levi Pei's call came in, but I didn't answer. A text message followed. "Rear, feeling better? Shall we sign the agreement tomorrow morning? Miss Shu is fine. Just a slight sprain. Why did you leave first? Are you angry? Call me back." I muted my phone and tossed it onto the sofa, turned on the computer. In my past life, Levi Pei took advantage of my critical illness and wiped all the design draft backups from my studio computer. Now, they're still here. I plug in the external hard drive and copy all the core design drafts, especially the unfinished prototype of that hit series, not the final version, but the more primitive sketches and inspiration notes. These weren't stolen in my past life because Levi Pei thought they were useless. In this lifetime, they are my trump card. After copying, clear all traces from the computer's recycle bin. The next morning, Levi Pei came knocking directly at the door, carrying breakfast in hand, along with that agreement. "Rear, I'm really sorry about yesterday. I promised to sign the documents today and immediately take you out for a big meal to make it up to you." He smiled sincerely, trying to come in. I blocked the doorway, not letting him enter. The agreement isn't urgent. Is Miss Shu's foot better now? His smile froze for a moment. Oh, it's nothing. Just needs some rest. How can the agreement not be urgent? Once signed, we'll be a family protected by law. I found it strange. Yesterday, the way he looked at Ruby Shu could practically spark electricity. So why would he still want to marry me? I looked at him and said, Levi Pei. The way you helped Miss Shu yesterday didn't seem like just a simple favor. His expression changed. Rear, you've misunderstood. She really lost her balance, and I just happened to steady her. I have no feelings for her. You're the only one in my heart, he said urgently. Is that so? I remained non-committal. Leave the agreement with me. I'll review the terms again. Don't worry, I'll contact you before signing. He was clearly reluctant but still handed the agreement to me. What followed truly amused me. Take a look first. I've made some slight modifications to the agreement. Let's sign the agreement first, and we can delay getting the marriage certificate for a few more days. After all, it's a lifelong commitment. We should pick an auspicious day. I took the agreement and skimmed through it quickly. These weren't just slight modifications. They were major changes. He had altered the original clause stating that all income and creative works from my studio during the marriage would be managed and controlled by him. Starting now, my studio will be half-owned by him, and the income and creative output from my studio will be managed and controlled by him. I chuckled. He was trying to get something for nothing. He wants both my money and the fruits of my labor, yet refuses to marry me. I tucked the agreement away. Levi Pei, I'll review the agreement first. You're right. We should pick an auspicious day for the marriage registration. You go ahead to work now. I kicked him out of my small apartment. Now even seeing him makes me sick. In the afternoon, I went to the newly renovated marital home that we hadn't moved into yet. It was a pre-sale property we bought together. Just delivered. In my previous life, I put a lot of thought into decorating. I didn't reply, but took a taxi to the new house. The key turned in the lock, and the door opened. At a glance, I noticed several designer shopping bags in the corner. They weren't mine. I approached. The bag contained women's clothing with the tags still attached. A jewelry box was open, revealing a diamond necklace inside. The receipt was visible, the amount glaring. The pair was Levi Pei, dated yesterday afternoon. Yesterday afternoon, he said he would come find me after taking Ruby Shu home. Instead, he went and bought these things. I took out my phone, snapped a photo of the receipt and the items, then put them away. I walked to the master bedroom window. Outside, there was an air conditioning unit in a tricky spot, but from an angle, most of the living room was visible. In my past life, this was the marital home I had chosen. This life, it is my hunting ground. My hidden corners are now equipped with micro cameras. Levi Pei called again, this time with a less pleasant tone. Rear, where are you? Why haven't you been replying to messages? How's the agreement review coming along? I'm busy with studio matters. The agreement terms are a bit complicated and need time to review. I looked at the surveillance app just installed on my phone. The image was crystal clear. What's so complicated? It's just a standard template. Would I ever trick you? We're going to spend our lives together. These terms are just to better manage our little home. He sounded a bit impatient. Being careful never hurts. After all, it's a matter of a lifetime, I said in a calm tone. He choked up. All right, hurry up. By the way, Miss Shu said she'd like to thank you in person for your concern yesterday. How about dinner together tonight? Ruby Shu, that was quick. Sure, send me the location. I'm curious to see what they're up to. The dining spot was a high-end Western restaurant. I arrived to find Levi Pei and Ruby Shu already there. Ruby Shu had changed into a dress, the very one from yesterday's shopping bag, and was wearing the necklace too. Miss Jiang, Ruby Shu waved enthusiastically. As if we were old friends. Please have a seat. I'm really sorry about yesterday, delaying your contract signing. Levi Pei pulled out the chair for me, and I sat down. It's nothing. Miss Shu, is your foot better now? Yes, all better now. Thanks to Levi's care. She naturally called him by his name and glanced at Levi Pei. Levi Pei didn't correct her, just smiled. After ordering, Ruby Shu started talking about art and her experiences abroad. Levi Pei listened attentively, occasionally interjecting, and the two of them had great rapport. What style does Ms. Jiang's studio mainly focus on? Ruby Shu suddenly turned to me. Just small projects. Making ends meet. I was being perfunctory. Don't be modest. Levi often praises you for being exceptionally talented, Ruby Shu said with a smile. But the survival pressure for independent designers is really intense these days. I heard several studios recently had their funding chains broken. How utterly ridiculous. The two of them had only known each other for a few days, yet Ruby Shu's words made it seem as if she were Levi Pei's girlfriend. Levi Pei chimed in. Exactly, Rear. That's why I've always said once the agreement is signed, my resources and connections can legitimately help you mitigate risks. He steered the conversation back to the agreement. The waiter served the appetizers. There was some sauce on the edge of Ruby Shu's plate, and Levi Pei naturally picked up his napkin to reach over and wipe it for her. Skilled movements. Ruby Shu's face flushed slightly, but she didn't dodge. I put down the knife and fork. I'm going to the restroom. In the restroom, I took out my phone and opened the surveillance app. The living room of the new house was empty, and I switched back to real time. Returned to my seat. My main course, the steak, arrived. I cut a small piece. It was a bit tough. Miss Jiang, not feeling hungry, Ruby Shu asked with concern, is the studio too stressful? Levi, you have to help Miss Jiang. Levi Pei looked at me. Rear, if there's any difficulty, you must speak up. We're in this together, no difficulties. I continued cutting the steak. It's just this steak. Looks fresh, but when you bite into it, you realize it's tough as leather and gets stuck in your teeth. Levi Pei and Ruby Shu's expressions changed upon hearing Rear's name. By the way, I turned to Ruby Shu, that necklace around your neck is truly beautiful. Miss Shu, Levi Pei has excellent taste. Ruby Shu instinctively covered the necklace and glanced at Levi Pei, looking somewhat flustered. Levi Pei frowned. Rear, what do you mean? That was a gift for Ruby to thank her for helping me connect with a gallery resource. I nodded. Resources are important, and gratitude is due. Using the down payment for our marital home to express it shows even more sincerity. Levi Pei stood up. Rear Jiang, have you been following me? I looked at him calmly. You left the receipt in the shopping bag. I also have the keys to the new house. Ruby Shu's face turned pale. Levi Pei's chest heaved as he stared at me. As if seeing me for the first time, after a long pause, he slowly sat down. Rear, are you misunderstanding something? Ruby just came back and has nowhere to stay. Hotels aren't safe. I let her stay temporarily in our new house since it's empty anyway. I replied without hesitation. Sure, it's your house. You decide. Levi Pei and Ruby Shu were both stunned, not expecting me to be so straightforward. However, I added, I don't like others touching my things. I'll come by later to take my design materials. Levi Pei immediately said, no need, I'll keep them safe for you and put them in the secondary bedroom. So he really intended for her to stay in the master bedroom. These two were truly treating her like a fool. I smiled faintly but said nothing. Levi Pei wasn't entirely wrong. Back then, I had devoted myself entirely to him, and my love-struck mind had turned me into a fool. He just didn't realize that without that rose-tinted filter now, my vision was clear and my heart unclouded. After dinner, Levi Pei offered to take Ruby Shu back to the hotel, while I said I'd take a cab first. I went back to the apartment to grab a large suitcase, then headed to the new house. Upon opening the door and entering, the living room lights were on. Ruby Shu's luggage was already there. Levi Pei was also there, unfolding the simple folding bed in the master bedroom. Seeing me dragging my suitcase in, both of them stopped. I'm here to get my things. I walked straight to the second bedroom, which was cluttered with some miscellaneous items. Along with several boxes of my design books and materials, Levi Pei followed me. Rear, let me help you move. Ruby will only stay for a few days and will move out once she finds a place. I ignored him and started packing books and materials into the box. I worked quickly. Ruby Shu leaned against the master bedroom doorframe, watching us. She changed into her loungewear. Miss Jiang, I'm really sorry for taking over your wedding suite. I looked at Ruby Shu, unable to hide the triumph in her eyes. I zipped up the suitcase and smiled. By the way, the sheets are new, but whether the person is new or not, who knows? I gave her and Levi Pei a meaningful glance. Ruby Shu blushed, then looked at Levi Pei with a pout. Levi Pei's expression darkened. Ria Jiang, watch your words. I couldn't be bothered to argue and simply pulled my suitcase to leave, heavy, but still movable. Levi Pei called from behind, Ria, let me take you. I didn't turn back, throwing out a reply, no need. Take care of your guests. Walking downstairs, a cold wind blows, the phone vibrates, the monitoring app alerts, motion detection warning. I tap to open the live feed. In the master bedroom, Ruby Shu hugged the new bedsheet, burying her face in it and taking a deep breath. Then, she walked to the window, picked up her phone to make a call, a triumphant smile on her face. Levi Pei even gave her the new bedsheet I bought to use. It makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about it. I closed the app and hailed a taxi. Back at the apartment, I took a shower, and the water was very hot. Lying in bed, I felt no sleepiness at all. I opened the mobile banking app to check the joint account with Levi Pei. The balance had dropped significantly, roughly matching the price of that necklace. I operated my phone and transferred all the money that belonged to me in the joint account to my pre-marriage personal card, not leaving a single cent behind. Seeing the successful transfer notification, the frustration in my heart eased a little. Levi Pei called again, and I declined. He texted, Ria, let's talk. There's really nothing between me and Ruby Shu. I can explain about the money. Consider it a loan. I'll definitely pay you back. Have you read the agreement? We need to talk about the future. Future, you're not part of mine, I replied. I've read the agreement. Let's meet at the law firm tomorrow at 3 p.m. to sign it in person. He replied almost instantly, okay, I'll definitely be there. I put down my phone and closed my eyes. The next day at 3 p.m., in the law firm's conference room, Levi Pei arrived early. Seeing me, he smiled and pulled out a chair. Ria, let's sit and talk. He pushed 2 agreements toward me. I picked up the pen, tapped the contents of the agreement with the cap, and let out a cold laugh. Levi Pei, why don't you explain what benefits I can get from this point? Levi Pei poured me a glass of water and pushed it towards me. It's just to make it easier for me to help you plan the studio. We're going to spend our lives together. I looked at Levi Pei. Does this mean that from the moment I sign this agreement, every penny my studio earns will be under your control? Then what about me? What can I get from you? Levi Pei's expression darkened. Ria, how can you think like that? This is for unified planning to reduce risks. I'm a lawyer. Would I ever harm you? I picked up the pen, its tip hovering over the signature line. Levi Pei looked at me, clearly a bit nervous. I suddenly smiled and put down the pen. Forget it, I can't accept this clause. How about we go get our marriage certificate first? After that, we can sign this agreement. But we must add a line stating that if we ever divorce, this agreement becomes void. No. Levi Pei blurted out, then realizing his outburst, he softened his tone. This is the standard template, it can't be changed. Ria, don't you trust me? Be good, just sign it first. We should pick a good day to get the marriage certificate. I pushed the agreement back. Then we can't sign it. Levi Pei stood up, visibly annoyed and embarrassed. Ria Jiang, are you playing me? I also stood up, brushing off non-existent dust from my clothes. I just don't want to jump into a fire pit. There's no way I'll sign the agreement, and I won't be marrying you either. What did you say? Levi Pei's face turned ashen. I looked into his eyes and said, we're over. With that, I picked up my bag and left. Behind me came the sound of Levi Pei slamming the table in fury. Back at the apartment, my phone was bombarded with missed calls and messages from Levi Pei. Ria Jiang, are you crazy? Get back here. What do you think you are? How many days do you think your studio can last without me? Did Ruby Shu say something to you? She's just an outsider. Answer the phone. I blocked his number. Turn on the computer and log into a secure email account. There is a new email inside, from Lu Shuheng, MS, Jiang. Your concept prototype and business proposal have undergone preliminary evaluation and show potential. Please provide more detailed core design ideas and market validation plans. Additionally, fund security is the top priority. We recommend thoroughly investigating the backgrounds of current partners. Best regards, Lu Shuheng. the only venture capital manager in my past life who attempted to help me overturn the case, but was blocked by Levi Pei with evidence, I replied. Mr. Liu, thank you for the evaluation. The detailed proposal and encrypted core design files will be sent within 24 hours. Issues with existing partners are being addressed to ensure zero risk. Ria Jiang, 13. The doorbell rang. Ruby Shu is at the peephole. I open the door. Ruby Shu is wearing makeup, but her gaze is hostile. Ria Jiang, what's going on between you and Levi? Break up, your chance has come. I turned to close the door. She blocked the door. Don't get too cocky. Do you think tearing up the agreement will make Levi come back to you? He never loved you. I nodded. I know. He loves you. Congratulations. Ruby Shu was taken aback by my words, then sneered. Stop pretending to be magnanimous. Levi told me everything. Aren't you just afraid the agreement will screw you over? How petty. Levi was doing you a favor. I looked at her and said, oh, well then I wish you a happy marriage. Don't forget to have him buy you a bigger diamond ring. Ruby Shu's face turned red with anger. Ria Jiang, don't say I didn't warn you. Levi said your studio will soon be finished, and by then, even if you beg him on your knees, it'll be useless. Is that so? I smiled and said, then let him try. I slammed the door shut with force. The sound of Ruby Shu's angry stomping came from outside the door. A few days later, teacher Dao Xinlan called me. Ria, are you okay? Levi's mom called me, asking if you two had a fight, saying your phone was unreachable. Broke up, I said. Dao Xinlan fell silent for a moment. Fine, it's better to cut off an uncomfortable relationship early. Feel free to drop by the studio sometime. Sure, I'll visit in a few days. After hanging up, the phone rang again, an unfamiliar local number. Answering, it was Levi Pei, using someone else's phone. Ria Jiang, you're really something. Want to break up? Did I agree to it? His voice was suppressing anger. I don't need your agreement. Good, very good, he sneered. Then let's settle the accounts. You paid half the down payment for the marital home. Right, fine. I'll return your money and keep the house, at current prices. Your share is only enough to buy a toilet. The rest counts as compensation for my wasted youth, I replied bluntly. Fine, let's get an agency to appraise it. We'll go by the market price, down to the last cent. If you short me even a penny, we'll see each other in court. Levi Pei probably didn't expect me to be so straightforward. He paused before speaking again. You know what's good for you. Levi Pei cursed and hung up. The appraisal for the new house came out, showing a significant increase from the original purchase price. Levi Pei insisted on refunding only my initial capital and refused to compensate for the appreciation. I directly had the lawyer I just found contact him. My lawyer was straightforward and gave him 3 words, see you in court. I logged into the surveillance app. On the screen, Ruby Shu was acting like the lady of the house, pacing around the living room. Levi Pei was also there, and the two seemed to be arguing. I turned up the volume. I don't care, you have to put my name on the house deed. Ruby Shu's voice was shrill, and Levi Pei responded to her impatiently. Add my name my ass, we haven't even settled the money issue yet. That bitch Ria Jiang insists on splitting it at market price, then just give it to her. A big shot lawyer like you can't spare that little money. What do you know? All my cash flow is tied up in the new project. Where am I supposed to get liquid cash? I don't care, if you don't add my name. It means you don't love me. I'm moving out tomorrow. You dare. Then came the shoving and Ruby Shu's cries. I closed the app, having no interest in watching dogs bite dogs. Lu Shuheng was highly efficient. After the second round of communication, he arranged a face-to-face meeting with me. The location was at a cafe near his company. Lu Shuheng appeared even more composed in person than in photos. Miss Jiang's proposal is quite unique. He got straight to the point. The integration of traditional craftsmanship with modern design is precisely targeted. As for market validation, the small-scale limited pre-sale trial is cost-effective. I'm interested, I politely replied. Thank you, Mr. Liu, but the risks are also evident. He looked at me and said, you mentioned disputes with existing partners, which could directly impact the project's stability and brand reputation. I need to ensure these risks are completely resolved or that there are sufficient countermeasures in place before the funds are injected. I opened the tablet I had brought with me, pulled up several documents, and slid them over. This is a threatening letter from attorney Levi Pei regarding the division of the marital home, implying that if I don't compromise, it will damage my studio's reputation. This is a clip from the surveillance footage inside the new home yesterday. I opened a silent video, where Levi Pei and Ruby Shu were engaged in a heated argument. Additionally, in the new home where Ruby Shu currently resides, there are some discarded design drafts from my studio that she may have accessed, potentially involving core concepts. I've consulted a lawyer about this and am preparing to file a report for suspected trade secret infringement. Lu Shuheng quickly scanned through. I continued speaking. Eliminating risks takes time, but countermeasures are already prepared. If they dare to touch these, it will be the bullets we fire back. It won't affect the new brand. Lu Shuheng looked at the bullets I mentioned, lightly tapping his fingers on the desk a few times. Then, he reached out his hand. Miss Jiang, it's a pleasure working with you. My team will send you the specific terms and funding plan as soon as possible. Stepping out of the cafe, the sunlight was a bit harsh. The phone vibrated. A colleague from Levi Pei's law firm, also somewhat of an acquaintance. Levi Pei likely wanted a familiar face to handle this, and I'll give him that courtesy. Miss Jiang, Attorney Pei has agreed to divide the property at market price, but he demands that you withdraw the lawsuit immediately and sign a confidentiality agreement, prohibiting any disclosure of details regarding the property dispute. It seems Levi Pei has found out about my police report consultation move. He's scared. I scoffed and said, fine, tell him to prepare the money. Once the funds are transferred, I'll sign the agreement. After hanging up, I called my lawyer, Attorney Zhong. Levi Pei has softened his stance. Market price. And no signing of anything until the money is in the account. Also, help me check if Levi Pei is in urgent need of cash flow recently. An hour later, Attorney Zhong called back. Found out, Levi Pei's personal account has seen significant outflows, suspected to be invested in an art investment fund. The fund manager is Mark, who has a questionable track record. Also, he mortgaged his marital home to secure a loan, which was also poured into that fund. His cash flow is very tight right now. Mortgaged his marital home to fill that hole. I laughed. Got it. Keep a close eye on him for the money transfer. The money has arrived, a large sum. Levi Pei and I signed the division agreement and confidentiality agreement at the lawyer's office, not exchanging a single word the entire time. After signing, he glared at me and said through gritted teeth, Ria Jiang, you're ruthless. Likewise, I said, putting away my copy of the agreement. Don't think you've won just because you got the money. He lowered his voice. Your studio, and that so-called new brand of yours, just you wait. I stood up and smiled contemptuously. All right. I'll wait and see what other brilliant moves you have up your sleeve, Attorney Pei. After leaving the law firm, I dialed Lu Shuheng's number. Mr. Lu, the obstacle clearing funds are ready. The new brand, Ria Jilan, can be launched at any time. On the other end of the line, Lu Shuheng's voice carried a hint of barely perceptible approval. Received. President Jiang, the collaboration officially begins. Ria Jilan Studio quietly opens its doors, located in the Creative Park. Far from the circles of Levi Pei and Ruby Shu, Lu Shuhuan's investment funds have been secured. The team was quickly assembled, all with clean backgrounds that he had vetted. For the core design drafts, I used another more mature series from my past life memories, one that had been shelved at the time due to insufficient funding. It wasn't the prototype that Ruby Shu had seen. The secret pre-sale received a good response, recouping some of the funds. The mobile monitoring app keeps popping up frequent alerts. Upon opening it, the scene in the living room of the new house appears. Levi Pei slams a stack of documents in front of Ruby Shu. Look at the mess you've made. Mark's fund was a scam, and all the money is gone. Ruby Shu screamed. Blame me. It was you who insisted on investing, saying it was a sure win. Weren't you the one bragging every day about how amazing Mark is? How could I not believe you? Levi Pei shouted back. What do we do now? We have to repay the mortgage loan. How are we going to do that? Ruby Shu grabbed her bag and threw it at him. I don't care. figure it out yourself. I don't even want to live in this crappy house anymore." She stormed into the bedroom and dragged out her suitcase. Levi Pei didn't stop her. Slumping onto the sofa and grabbing his hair in frustration, Ruby Shu pulled her suitcase out, shot him a fierce glare, and slammed the door behind her as she left. Levi Pei sat in the empty living room for a long time. Then, he took out his phone and dialed. I closed the app. His number had long been on the blacklist. A few days later, a small-scale industry art exhibition I attended on behalf of Ria Jilan, bringing some pieces from the new collection. Lu Shuheng was also there, as an investor. Just as I entered the exhibition hall, I ran into Levi Pei and Ruby Shu. The two stood together, but with a gap between them. Ruby Shu looked at me, her eyes sharp as knives. Levi Pei's expression was far more complex: surprise, embarrassment, and a hint of scrutiny. As he noticed the Ria Jilan name tag on my chest, Ruby Shu spoke first, her tone laced with barbs. "Miss Jiang, what a coincidence. Climbing the social ladder already. That was quick." She glanced at Lu Shuheng beside her. Lu Shuheng didn't look at her but signaled to me. "Director Jiang, the curator Wang is over there. Shall we go say hello?" "All right," I nodded, avoiding eye contact with either of them, and walked away with Lu Shuheng. From behind came Ruby Shu's muffled complaints and Levi Pei's impatient scolding. The exhibition went smoothly. Several potential partners showed interest in Ria Jilan's works. At the end, Levi Pei blocked me at the parking lot exit. His voice was hoarse, laced with exhaustion. "Ria, let's talk." Lu Shuheng's car was parked not far away, and I signaled for him to wait. "Talk about what?" I looked at Levi Pei. His dark circles were pronounced, and his suit was slightly wrinkled. He licked his lips, seemingly struggling to find the right words. "I'm in a bit of trouble. My money's tied up. Could you lend me some to tide me over? Once the fund..." I cut him off. "No," he grew agitated. "Ria Jiang. Even one night as husband and wife creates a bond for 100 days. How can you be so heartless? We never got married." I reminded him. "Not a single cent for you." "Fine. Just fine." He glared with venom in his eyes. "You think clinging to Lu Shuheng's coattails makes you untouchable? Ruby Shu told me everything. Your designs, your new brand, just you wait." He finally showed his true colors. "I'm waiting," I said, pulling open the car door and getting in. Lu Shuheng started the car. Trouble, desperation drives a dog to jump over a wall. I watched Levi Pei's figure grow smaller in the rearview mirror. Proceed as planned. Lu Shuheng's prediction was spot on. A week later, a rising designer brand called Rays of Dawn made a high-profile debut. The flagship collection bore a striking 90% similarity in core elements to the viral series that had been stolen from me in my past life. The designer was credited as Ruby Shu. Press releases flooded the media, praising Ruby Shu's genius creativity while subtly mocking certain designers for running out of ideas and merely copying others. Levi Pei is the legal counsel for Morning Light. As specifically mentioned in the press release, the studio's landline and my mobile phone began receiving verification calls. I instructed my assistant to respond uniformly. Ria Jilan's new product launch will be held in 3 days, and the truth will speak for itself. At the same time, I instructed my lawyer to formally send a legal notice to the Shiguang brand and Ruby Shu, accusing them of infringing on trade secrets and copyright. Levi Pei quickly issued a statement on behalf of Shiguang, strongly protesting the defamation and announcing a countersuit for libel against me. The statement insinuated that I had a history of plagiarism and was psychologically twisted, falsely accusing others. Public opinion began to split between the two sides. The day of the Ria Jilan launch event, backstage, Lu Shuheng handed me a glass of water. "Everything ready?" "Amham." I looked at my perfectly made-up reflection in the mirror. The embarrassment of being put on trial for plagiarism in my past life will not be repeated. At the front stage, the lights dim, and the music begins. I walk to the center of the runway, the spotlight shining on me. The audience below is packed with people, media, buyers, peers, and judges, in the front row. I spotted Levi Pei and Ruby Shu. Levi Pei wore an expressionless face, while Ruby Shu had a faint, cold smile at the corner of her lips. "Welcome, everyone, to the debut of Ria Jilan." My voice was calm, carrying through the microphone to the entire venue. The Tracelight collection showcased today draws its inspiration from models walked down the runway one after another as the lighting shifted. Murmurs of amazement and discussion rose from the audience. Accompanied by the flicker of camera flashes, I could see Levi Pei's frown deepening. The cold smile on Ruby Shu's face froze, her fingers tightening around the strap of her bag. After the final showpiece was displayed, applause broke out. I stepped back to the center of the stage. Thank you all for your appreciation. The Retrolight series embodies the hard work of our team. However, there have been some discordant voices recently. I glanced in the direction of Levi Pei and Ruby Shu. The entire venue fell silent. Someone has accused Ria Jilan of plagiarism, and there are even hints that I myself have a history of copying others' work. I paused briefly. Now, please direct your attention to the big screen. The giant screen behind me lit up. First document. The electronic time-stamped evidence of my studio's core design draft's creation timeline, predating the release of Morning Light by several months. Second document. The full set of design copyright certificates for the Tracelight series registered with the National Copyright Administration, with a registration date earlier than Morning Light. Third document. The cease and desist letter and detailed comparison images between the Morning Light series and early discarded drafts of Tracelight, with overlapping elements marked in red circles. Fourth document. A scanned copy of the statement issued by Levi Pei on behalf of Morning Light, insinuating my alleged history of plagiarism. The audience erupted in an uproar as the camera panned to Levi Pei and Ruby Shu. Levi Pei's face froze. Ruby Shu stood up to defend herself. It's fake, all fake. Ria Jiang, you fabricated this. I ignored her and continued with my presentation. The large screen switches scenes, playing a segment of surveillance footage. It was a scene that occurred several months ago in the living room of that wedding suite. In the footage, Ruby Shu is alone. She furtively rummages through the remaining boxes in the secondary bedroom, pulls out a stack of blueprints, quickly takes photos with her phone, and then stuffs the blueprints back in place. The camera zooms in, clearly showing the content of the photo on her phone screen, along with the time it was taken. The time was long before the release of Dawnlight, even before the establishment of Ria Jilan. Levi Pei sat motionless in his chair, his face drained of color. He stared at the image of Ruby Shu secretly photographing the design drafts on the screen, as if all his strength had been sapped away. I picked up the microphone. The aforementioned evidence has been simultaneously submitted to the public security authorities and the court. For the plagiarists and malicious framers, Ria Jilan will pursue all legal liabilities. This concludes the press conference. Thank you all for bearing witness. The lights brightened, and the audience fell into a brief silence before erupting into applause and murmurs. I walked off the runway without giving that wretched pair another glance. Lu Shuheng was waiting for me at the backstage entrance, hand extended. CEO Jiang, well done. I high-fived him. Just the first step. On the day the press conference ended, Levi Pei called Lawyer Zhong, seeking negotiations. Following my instructions, Lawyer Zhong replied, no discussion. Wait for the court's verdict. Public opinion online completely reversed. Shi Guang was criticized to the point of being riddled with holes. Ruby Shu's image as a genius designer has collapsed. Levi Pei, as a lawyer, knowingly broke the law and abetted wrongdoing, completely ruining his reputation. The comment section on his law firm's official website was flooded with criticism and had to be shut down. Several companies that previously had business dealings with Levi Pei sent termination notices to end their cooperation. A few days later, the police came to the door and took Ruby Shu away. The charges were suspicion of infringing on trade secrets and damaging commercial reputation. Levi Pei, as a suspected accomplice, was also summoned for investigation. I was notified to cooperate as the victim. In the police station hallway, I ran into Levi Pei, who had just finished giving his statement. The light in his eyes had completely gone out. When he saw me, he seemed to want to say something, but in the end, he said nothing. We passed each other by without looking back. The case was processed quickly. The chain of evidence was too complete. Ruby Xu was sentenced to 3 years of actual imprisonment and fined. Levi Pei was found guilty of joint crime but played a relatively minor role. His lawyer's license was revoked, and he was given a 1-year suspended sentence with an equally high fine. The court ruling determined that Levi Pei, while fully aware that Ruby Xu had stolen the design drafts, still provided her with legal support and orchestrated public opinion campaigns, maliciously framing the victim Ria Jiang. On the day the verdict took effect, Levi Pei's personal credit was ruined. The bank began pursuing him for the debts from his mortgage loan and fund losses, landing him on the credit blacklist. Ria Jilan actually gained fame because of this tough battle. The Suguang series saw overwhelming orders. Lu Xuanheng brought even better news. A top international luxury group had taken a keen interest in the core craftsmanship of the Twilight series and wanted to acquire exclusive technology licensing while seeking deeper collaboration. The negotiations went smoothly. On the day the contract was signed, a substantial sum of money was deposited into the account. I allocated a portion of it and donated to several non-profit organizations that support original designers. After finishing work at the company, I drove to the outskirts of the city. Dao Xinlan's studio remained unchanged as always. The pottery wheel spun, and the clay gradually took shape in her hands. She saw me and waved with a smile. "Finished with your work?" "Yeah, wrapped up for now." I sat down and picked up a piece of clay. Dao Xinlan didn't ask further, handing me a cup of tea. "That's good." With a settled heart, "The hands can be steady." I held the warm cup. Watching the sunlight outside the window, the air carried the scent of soil and greenery. My phone vibrated. It was a text from Lu Xuheng. "President Jiang, the new project proposal has been sent to your email. It's regarding overseas expansion. Awaiting your feedback." I set down my cup and picked up my phone to reply. "Received. We'll discuss it at tomorrow's regular meeting." Looking up, teacher Dao Xinlan was watching me with a knowing smile in her eyes. "Go attend to your business if you're busy," she said. "Come visit often when you're free." "All right." I stood up, stepping out of the studio. Sunlight fell on me. Not glaring, but warm. The celebratory banquet for the collaboration launch between Ria Jilan and the luxury group. I held my wine glass, having just dealt with another round of congratulations, and stepped onto the balcony for some fresh air. Lu Xuheng followed me out, holding 2 glasses of water, and handed one to me. Tired, a little, I took the water and took a sip. The night breeze blew, and the city lights below flickered faintly. "I've finished reading the overseas expansion proposal," I said. "I have a new idea for the entry point into the North American market." Lu Xuanheng turned his head to look at me, his gaze focused. "Go ahead and tell me." I briefly said a few words. He listened, occasionally interjecting to ask for details. The exchange of ideas flowed smoothly. After discussing business matters, a brief silence fell. Lu Xuheng suddenly spoke up in a calm tone. "Levi Pei sent word that he'd like to meet with you, saying there are some matters from the past he'd like to clarify in person." I gazed at the distant lights. "No need," I said. "We've long since settled our accounts." Lu Xuheng nodded. "All right, I'll take care of it." He didn't ask why or offer any judgment. That sense of discretion was comforting. The terrace door was pushed open, and the assistant peeked in. "President Jiang, Mr. Lu. Chairman Wang is looking for both of you." "Coming," Lu Xuheng replied. He turned to me and naturally extended his hand. I paused for a moment before placing my hand in his palm. His hand was dry, warm, and strong, a gentle grasp, then immediately released. "Let's go, President Jiang." There was a faint smile in his eyes. I followed him back into the clamor. The case was completely resolved. Levi Pei sold his house to pay off debts, left the city, and was never heard from again. Ria Jilan got on track. My work interactions with Lu Xuheng became increasingly frequent, discussing proposals, inspecting factories, attending international exhibitions. He is professionally sharp, never oversteps boundaries, but is always there when needed. We went on a business trip to Paris together, and the project negotiations went smoothly. The French restaurant had an elegant ambience, and the waiter poured the red wine. Lu Xuheng raised his glass. "Congratulations, President Jiang. The new series has gained a foothold in Paris." I clinked my glass against his. Congratulations, Mr. Liu, your vision is truly sharp. The red wine was slightly astringent yet left a sweet aftertaste. Under the light, his profile appeared soft. Just call me Shuheng. He set down his wine glass and suddenly spoke. After working together for so long, still calling me Mr. Liu feels too distant. I looked up at him. His expression was as usual, only his gaze seemed slightly deeper than normal. All right, I nodded. Shuheng. The corners of his lips curved slightly, and he said nothing more. They continued chatting about the sights of Paris and the plans for the next day. The evening breeze drifted in from the terrace, bringing a quiet stillness, somewhere deep in his heart. It felt as though that evening breeze had loosened something just a little. After returning home, I went to teacher Dao Xinlan's place. She was glazing a newly made ceramic vase when she saw me and put down her brush. You look well, she observed me. Have you completely removed that thorn in your heart? It's completely removed, I replied, sitting down to help her mix the glaze. Dao Xinlan wiped her hands and asked casually, so, have you thought about planting something new in the empty space in your heart? I didn't stop what I was doing. Let fate decide. For now, this is fine. Dao Xinlan smiled. It should be quite good. With a smooth career and always having a reliable person by your side to discuss things with. I didn't respond, handing her the prepared glaze instead. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting a shimmering glow on the still wet glaze. By year-end, after the company's lively annual gathering, all the employees had dispersed. I stayed in the office to watch the first sunrise of the new year. A knock sounded at the door, and Liu Shuheng stood there holding 2 cups of hot coffee. He walked in and handed me one. Knew you'd still be here. We stood side by side in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the faint glow of dawn break over the distant horizon as golden light slowly rose from the edge of the earth. Gazing out the window, he said, "Ria, Happy New Year." Happy New Year, Shuheng. I took a sip of coffee, warmth spreading from my palms to the depths of my heart. After a moment of silence, he spoke. For the New Year's plan, I want to personally make a trip. The Southeast Asian market has great potential too. It'll probably take about half a month. I turned to look at him. I'll go with you. I want to do some on-site research, to see the colors and textiles of Southeast Asia. Liu Shuheng turned his head, his gaze landing on my face. A smile flickering in his eyes. All right, together. The sunlight finally broke through the clouds, flooding the entire city. Our reflections standing side by side in the glass. I picked up my coffee cup and gently clinked it against his. Happy cooperation, he replied, his voice quite cheerful. The new year has begun.